His palace was made of gold, and his pride was taller than the walls that guarded it. Servants trembled when he walked, and the earth seemed to bow under his voice. But one night, something changed. He heard whispers in the wind, voices that weren't human. And by morning, the mighty king was crawling on all fours in the field, his crown lost in the grass. This is the story of the king who became a beast. He had built a city that bullied the horizon, a necklace of walls, a forest of towers, gate after gate, bronze muscled into shapes that told the universe who ruled it. Gardens cascaded over terraces, as if the earth itself had been ordered to rise and applaud. And at the center of it all, a man with a gaze like a blade walked balconies as if they were bridges over lesser lives. On the night the dream returned, the king woke with his throat tight and his fingers aching from fists he did not remember making. He called for light. Lamps came running on the shoulders of servants. He called for music. Harps hurried to soothe the air. None of it quieted the animal that had stirred under his ribs. He had dreamed a tree. It had been the kind that makes small men feel safe and great men feel almost humble. Birds had nested in its shade. Nations had found rest under its generous arms. Then a voice, clearer than a trumpet, colder than a blade, had called for the tree to be cut down, not killed, not uprooted, bound, caged, left in the field, its stump banded in iron and bronze. And the voice had said, "Let him live with the beasts. Let his mind become the sky's toy. Let him chew the green with animals until time has done its slow work." Morning found the king pacing and then summoning the one man in his empire who did not flinch when he approached. The man came without hurrying. He had the eyes of someone who has seen fire learn manners. "Tell me," the king said, not able to keep the tremor from his voice. The man did not waste words. "It is you," he said gently. "You are the tree." Silence. Wind pushed at the curtains, not daring to enter. "Your strength," the man continued, "has grown larger than your gratitude. Your rule has become large enough to forget what hands placed the scepter in yours. You will be sent away from men. Your mind will be bent until it remembers where breath and sanity come from." The king laughed, because men who command armies must sometimes remind themselves what fear is supposed to sound like. "Sent away by whom?" he said. "By farmers? By ghosts?" But the laugh died as quickly as it was born. The man's face carried no taunt, only grief. "Your kingdom will wait," he said. "It will be here when you understand." Months, maybe days. Time behaved strangely around warnings passed. The king stood on his roof at sunset, surveying his pulse, turned to architecture. The river turned gold at his feet. The city breathed below like a single enormous animal he had tamed. "Is not this the great city I have built?" he said, savoring the sentence, "by my power and for the glory of my majesty." The last word was the key that opened the cage. It happened fast and slow at once. A breeze turned inside out and became a voice. The voice wore no crown. "Your kingdom is departed from you," it said the way a judge says. Next case. His knees buckled. Servants reached for him and found their hands empty. He was already elsewhere. They say he ran. They say he laughed, high and wrong, and tore the brooch from his cloak as if metal offended him. They say he knocked down bowls of fruit with both arms and shouted at the figs for being so obedient. Then the gates swallowed him, and the fields accepted him like a long-lost cousin who had forgotten names. Night after night, stars watched a man forget how to stand. Dew slicked his hair until it matted into ropes. Nails lengthened into ungoverned knives. His skin learned weather. He spoke a language no courtier could translate, all growls and whimpers and exclamations at the moon. He chewed grass. He slept under trees that did not bow. The cattle ignored him, except when he tried to steal their shade. Back in the city, ministers argued quietly about who exactly wore the crown now that the crown had no head. But the crown, like a patient parent, waited. It glimmered on a table in a room that smelled of cedar and abandonment. It listened to footsteps come and go. It decided not to choose a new brow. Seasons changed their clothes. Wheat rose and fell. Children learned to walk. The king became a legend. The monster in the fields, the creature who used to be a man, the proof that the universe does not sign every invoice sent to it. A few brave souls brought him water in big-bellied jars. He sometimes drank. He sometimes slapped the jars away and shrieked at the horizon. Men who had once trembled at his nod now pitied him and then pretended not to. One morning, no different in its light, but different in its mercy, the king lifted his head. His eyes, which had become the private swimming pools of madness, cleared for a heartbeat. Clouds stacked themselves into palaces. A bird ripped the seam of the sky with its wing. The river moved with its old, disobedient freedom. He remembered a sentence, a simple one he had heard before and dismissed as peasant talk. You are not the top of the world. He looked up, not away, not at, up. His mouth formed words that did not ask anything. They simply suggested that he had finally turned toward the door that had always been open. What came next was not fireworks. It was furniture sliding back into place. The angles of his mind, which had been bent like wet reeds, straightened and locked. The world ceased to orbit his fear. He stood. It felt like a miracle, greater than any throne. They found him with grass in his beard and a smile on his face that made grown men cry. They clothed him, not in gilded embarrassment, but in clean cloth and quiet. He walked into the city, to the sound of people who did not know whether to cheer or kneel. He did neither. He paused in the doorway of the room where the crown had been waiting and touched it like a relic of a saint. Wear it, his ministers begged, their voices breaking under relief. He nodded and then did something new with his voice. He thanked, not them, not himself. He thanked with the ease of a man who has finally stopped being the main character in a universe too small for him. Then he sat, not taller than before, but deeper. The city resumed its breathing. The crown fit again, but it did not sit on the same man. Knights found him on the roof, not counting his towers, but counting stars he could not name, happy to let someone else remember their number. He became, to the surprise of those who had only known his jawline, gentle. People still tell the story, though the details are expensive and often borrowed. They say pride is a lion you should not feed. They say grass is a bitter diet. They say the sky is kinder than it looks. His palace was made of gold, and his pride was taller than the walls that guarded it. But one night, something changed. He heard whispers in the wind, voices that weren't human. And by morning, the mighty king was crawling on all fours in the field, his crown lost in the grass. This is the story of the king who became a man again.